Okay, so here we're working on constraint sled approach for foot sweeps. We're working with a thin little track of mat between where the line of the mat is and the belt. And we're just working on trying to push our partner out of that space on either side while staying within it. This is going to create big, exaggerated responses. Just breaking off here to fix the belt. I think it would be ideal to have some kind of tape down on the mat, or just a thinner band, and maybe like, different color mats, but you work with what you got. So we're using these belts here to make this thin track, and that's going to create these exaggerated responses where the other person's turning and trying to shuffle away to prevent you from pushing them out. And this is really good for setting up things like sasai surikomi ashi and okuriashi barai deashi harai. For the next game, which is a progression of the first one, we're going to get 5 points for pushing the other person off of the track, and just 1 point if we're able to execute any technique where we bring our foot against their lower leg and sweep them off their feet. Now, the first person to get 15 points wins the game. So with the higher number of points being awarded for pushing the person out, we're going to continue to get that exaggerated feedback where the person's really fighting hard and kind of off balancing themselves as they're trying to keep their way in the space. You can see that the students are having a little bit of an easier time than they normally would trying to go for these attacks and execute them. They're a little bit more effective because of this exaggerated feedback. Of course, as always, is an issue with constraint sled approach. Sometimes people lose focus a little bit on the objective. You see here, he's trying to do like an uchimata type thing where he's using his thigh to lift as opposed to the foot, right? There we saw a really good off balance from the guy in the black. That could have easily turned into a sasai if he just stuck his foot out and blocked, right? It's so important to kind of be laser focused when you're doing CLA. You see these exaggerated reactions really precipitating the foot sweeps here. Now moving into the third game. All right, this one player starts with an underhook, and the other player takes a grip over the belt. The underhook player will also control the sleeve on the far side, and the underhook player's job is just to spend as much time with the sole of their foot in contact with their partner's lower leg as possible. The player who has the grip over the back is attempting to step in between their partner's legs, splitting the legs, and then rotate to take them down, or they can step across both legs and lift in order to take them down. So you can kind of think of like an uchimata or a half taiyatoshi for the first option, and then some kind of like ogoshi or technique like that for the second. But it's really not limited to those techniques. Those are just examples so you can kind of get a sense for it. But the idea here is to now implement the foot sweeps for the underhook player in a position and a grip where they have an ability to do it, right? Like that underhook and sleeve control is good for executing the foot sweep. It's certainly possible from that position, but also doing it under the threat of being countered, right? And one of the students actually really intelligently pointed out that it's hard to keep, when you put your foot in the air, it's easy for the person to step in and split your legs. And I was like, absolutely. That's kind of the point here, is that if we can't get our foot in contact with our opponent's leg without mitigating that danger and being able to stay safe, then you can't really do a foot sweep. So here I'm playing around a little bit with one of the white belts, trying to see, get a feel for this myself. I was noticing the same exact thing, that if I stick my foot out before he goes to step in front, that I'm at pretty big risk of being taken down myself. So then I started looking to do it afterwards, right? And you see just there, I was able to pull him down. So you in a sense, we want to spend as much time with our foot connected to the other player, but we also don't want to just give up the whole game and let ourselves lose by being taken down. You see the blue belt and the black gi here doing a pretty good job of getting that contact with his foot. He's got the belt grip, which I think can work. I would probably prefer to grab the lat here, but leave that up to them and let them figure it out. These guys doing a good job of staying focused on the task goals here, though, which is always nice to see as a coach. All right, guys, so for the final aspect of this training session, I opened it up a bit and I gave them some basic instructions on kumikata, on the grip fighting. Just really simple stuff: controlling the other person's dominant hand, being able to set your dominant hand, making sure to keep the inside position so you can kind of control their shoulder. Just basic stuff. And then we were going to grip fight for dominant position, and then also incorporate Ashi Waza, so techniques where the foot is used against the opponent's lower leg or foot. I thought this was an important thing to do because I wanted to open it up and make this a little bit more representative as far as what happens in randori, in free sparring. But also, I think there's a good complementary effect between this and the previous drill, in that, in the previous drill, we're allowing some major techniques. You can see I just hit a nice foot sweep there. In the previous drill, we're allowing some major techniques, which I think can be really disruptive if you're trying to do Ashi Waza. So it's really important that when you're trying to develop these techniques, that you have both elements, both like this freer, more open scenario where the grips aren't set, but then also some places where you can try to play with what happens when the other person's really trying to throw me with other styles of techniques. I think for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and for Nogi, it's important also to do things where the person's countering with leg attacks, like leg grabs, right? Like a single leg, double leg, that type of stuff. So you see here, the students are actually doing quite a good job of this. And I think part of that is due to them going through this whole progression beforehand, where they're getting the exaggerated feedback from working with the lanes. And then now they know what reactions they're looking for and what reactions they need in order to make the foot sweep happen. I actually had a bit of an epiphany here with Sasai. Really understanding the direction of the off balance and what I need from my partner. The lane really helped teach me that, because I could see when they started hopping in that direction. The earlier drills really give you such a good sense for what kind of feedback and what the feel of the technique is. I encourage people to use whatever grips here that they felt comfortable with. Here I'm working from the underhook, which I really like, setting up the Ashi Harai and Ouchigari from the underhook. I did allow them to use Ouchigari, which I don't think is an Ashi Waza. I'm sure somebody in the comments can correct me on that. But here you see a maybe day 3 wipeout in the back there, hitting a nice Ashi Waza technique. So there you have it, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I also want to thank Cal Jones. This whole thing spiraled out of my conversation with him. It was his advice, where he gave me the idea to work with the mat is lava and the narrow strip in order to encourage the development of these techniques. So hope you all enjoyed.